بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه وصلوات الله وسلامه على نبينا الأمين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وعلى من تمسك بسنته بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. As it relates to the issue of a glimpse at the virtuous companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa radiyallahu anhum ajma'in, the aspect of what I want to deal with is what we are inshallah about to embark upon, and that is the blessed month of Ramadan being right around the corner bi'idhnillah. And I want to share with you brothers as well as you sisters how the companions used to embrace the month of Ramadan and how they prepared for the month of Ramadan. So today's talk is not about the ahkam of Ramadan, even though during the talk inshallah we'll deal with certain ahkam, but the talk is to draw your attention to how the companions used to embrace and prepare for the month of Ramadan, so that they will get the best out of the month. And then we compare what they were upon and what they did to what we are upon and what we are doing. But before dealing with the subject matter, it is absolutely necessary for every Muslim man and every Muslim woman, the Arab from amongst them as well as the non-Arab, the educated or the illiterate, to understand that whenever we are going to talk about our religion, any aspect of our religion, especially the aspects that are connected to the ibadat or the forms of worship, or the aspects that are connected to the aqidah in al-Islam, then we have to understand that we have to tie ourselves and our kalam and our speech and our understanding and our practices to what those companions were upon and what they used to do, radiyallahu anhum. This is the biggest mushkila right now facing the ummah today, that we have this freedom, that we've taken liberties in the religion of al-Islam, and we've gotten far away from that particular qaid or that particular chain that we're supposed to be connected to. Allah Ta'ala did not choose Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali and Ukash and Bilal and Zayd and the rest of them radiyallahu anhum to be the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam just for nothing, because there was no wisdom in that. Allah chose them because there's some wisdom, and He didn't choose us to be His companions because there's some wisdom in that. So they are our examples, and it's not enough for a person just to say radiyallahu anhu or anhum when he hears their name. It is part of the deen for the Muslim to love the companions, for the Muslim to try to understand and practice his Islam in the same manner, in the same mode that the companions did. It's the responsibility of the Muslim to defend the companions. One of the things that I find really enjoyable and it brings coolness to the heart is that when you find people naming their sons, for an example, Bilal. We know that Bilal radiyallahu anhu was the mu'adhin of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which goes to prove that he's Ameen and he's in Jannah. We know those ahadith. A person comes from Pakistan, from Afghanistan, from Bangladesh. The person is an Arab. The person is a white person. But because of his love for Bilal, he calls his son Bilal. Because the aqidah of loving Bilal, even though he's a different color and from a different ethnic background, the aqidah of loving Bilal supersedes and it transcends the fact that he's black or he's Persian or he's Arab. So in our religion, Allah Ta'ala in so many ayahs of the Qur'an, He has proven to us why we as regular Muslims who have come in this century over 1400 years after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought the message of Islam, so many ayat have made it compulsory upon us, obligatory upon us to follow their way. And one of the things I want to bring to your attention, ikhwani, is that Allah has described the companions as men. We have men here, biological. They are men. But they don't have the real characteristics of what it is to be a man. The ghira of his wife and over his wife. to be able to say to his wife, La, you can't leave out of my house without wearing the proper Islamic hijab. A man has jealousy over his wife. So he's a man, but he doesn't have that particular characteristic of a rajula, of manliness. Allah Ta'ala has described them as men in so many ayat of the Qur'an. From those ayats that I want to use is the statement of Allah Ta'ala, min al-mu'minin rijal, sadaqu ma ahadullah alayhi, faminhum man yantadhir, faminhum man qada nahbahu, wa minhum man yantadhir, wa ma baddalu tabdila. From the believers, radiyallahu anhum, are men who have completed their contract with Allah. Part of being a man is to give your word, to go into a contract, and to complete that contract. You got married to your wife. You promised her and her family that you're going to take care of her and her family. You promised her family you're going to pay her a dowry. Part of manliness is to take care of that contract, every contract. From the believers are men who took care of the contract that they made with Allah. From them are some who completely did the contract. They sacrificed their lives, fi sabilillah. And from them are others who are still waiting to sacrifice their lives. وَمَا بَدَّلُوا تَبْدِيلًا. And they didn't change anything. They didn't divert from the path. They didn't find the Prophet brought them away, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then after his death, they changed it. The Muslims today have changed a lot. Even the people who say and claim that they're connected to the Sunnah and to Hadith, they have changed. They have changed the way of the companions. Not to mention the people who don't connect to the Sunnah. Those people who don't connect to the Sunnah, when they come together and they make the dhikr of Allah, and they go, hoowa, 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 hoowa. We say, where does that come from? You've changed what Rasulullah brought, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Their issue is easy and clear. But I'm talking about the sad tragedy of people who claim that they're on the Sunnah and with the Sunnah, and yet you'll find those people embracing and entertaining and accommodating people who are the people of al-bid'ah and ahwa. The companions were not like that. So they were men. And as a result of that, if a person wants to be a true, real Muslim, then he has to pattern his life after them. There was the companion that you all know about, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu, the cousin of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And many of you may sit there and you may think that Abdullah ibn Abbas was a big man when the Prophet died, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but that's not the case. You think that he's a big man, and he was a big man because all of the knowledge that he had, because all of the hadith that he had. When the Messenger of Allah died, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, Abdullah ibn Abbas was about 15 years old. He was a young man, a teenager from amongst us. He wasn't an old person, but he was one of those prolific scholars of the companions who was higher than most as it relates to knowledge. One of his students from the Tabi'een. He came to Abdullah ibn Abbas, and that man's name is Uthman ibn Hadir. He said to Abdullah ibn Abbas, who was educated in the house of prophecy. He used to go with the Prophet ﷺ in the privacy of his homes. He used to always be with him when he was traveling, coming and going. So he was able to get a bird's eye view about the details of the private life of the Messenger of Allah. He was taught close to the Prophet. Like Fatima, like Ali ibn Abi Talib, certain individuals were very close to him, Anas ibn Malik. So this man asked Abdullah ibn Abbas for some advice, and he said, "Oh, Sini, give me some advice. What do you have to say?" Abdullah ibn Abbas said, "Na'am, usika bi taqwallah wal istiqama wal athar wa tattabi wa la tabtadi." He said, "I'm going to advise you. I advise you to have the taqwa of Allah, to have ikhlas, to be sincere in all of your ibadat. Only do it for Allah. Whatever you're doing, you want to talk to the people, do it for Allah. Not so that the people will look at you. You want to give sadaqah in the month of Ramadan, outside of the month of Ramadan, do it to the point where the right hand doesn't know where the left hand is giving, what is doing. The best salat that you can possibly make, as the Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, afdalu salat al-mar salatuhu fi bayti ila al-maktuba. The best salat that a person can make is the salat that he makes in his house, other than the wajib prayer. And the best salat is in his house because it's far away from the eyes of the people. The month of Ramadan and fasting in Islam is beloved by Allah Azza wa Jalla, and it's from the best deeds because no one knows your fasting except Allah. So it's complete, total ikhlas. Complete, total ikhlas. So Allah will reward those deeds that are done for His sake and His sake alone. Abdullah bin Abbas went on to tell that man, and I also advise you to have al-istiqama, and I advise you with the athar. Be upright and take the proofs and follow and do not innovate in the religion. Follow and do not innovate in the religion. Follow who? Follow the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and what he brought, and follow his companions, and don't add on to that. If they didn't do Shabbarat, you don't do Shabbarat. If they radiyallahu anhum didn't do the ihtifal al-nabawi, the birthday of Rasulullah, or the birthday of their own selves or their children, then you don't do those birthdays. If they radiyallahu anhum didn't do the dhikr like we were showing, huwa, then you don't do that. That was the advice of Abdullah ibn Abbas to the one who asked him from his students. That advice came directly from what he learned from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you'll find this, ikhwani, brothers and sisters, throughout the statements and the history of the companions. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, another illustrious, tremendous companion who was prolific in the recitation of the Qur'an and the tafsir of the Qur'an and the sciences that were connected to the Qur'an. He said to his students from the tabi'een, and also to us as a result of that, ittabi'u wa la tabtadi'u faqad kufitum wa alaykum bil atiq. He said to the tabi'un, you people should follow. Follow what has been given to you and don't innovate and introduce in the religion, because everything has been made complete for you and it's enough. And you have to take what is ancient, meaning the ways of those companions, what the Prophet was upon, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was telling that to a group of people who Rasulullah had only died 15, 20, 30 years before they came. What about people who are coming more than 1,000 years after him? We've innovated in the religion, and as a result of that, this ummah, we're dealing with a lot of issues. So the point that I want to establish is that the basis of the Islam of any Muslim man and any Muslim woman, Arab, non-Arab, tall, small, educated, illiterate, is that we have to take the ways of the companions. What was their way is our way. What was enough for them is enough for us. What's not enough for them and what wasn't their way shouldn't be a way for us. Those of you who are reverts, I saw a few of you, I'm a revert like you. When you come into the religion and you look at the Muslims from Afghanistan, Pakistan, all of the Arabs, the Africans, the different groups, the different sheikhs, the different madhabs, you'll hear each group saying, come with us, do what we're doing, we're on the truth, follow us. Everyone is claiming that. As a revert, I say to you, if people can't prove to you that the companions were doing that thing, then don't do it. That's the measurement that you have to use. That's the Richter scale that you have to use. No matter what they're saying, it may sound nice, it may sound weird. Say to that individual, show me where the companions did it, and I'm going to be the first one to do it and the one to get behind it and protect it and call to it and defend it. If the person says, but my grandfather said, but my imam said, but my people said, then you said to them, lakum dinukum waliya din. You have your way and I have my way. And my way, inshallah, is the way that the companions were upon. So how did those companions show us their way of getting ready for the month of Ramadan that we are about to embark upon, inshallah? There are a lot of things that we can mention, ikhwani, a lot of things. But I say to you that the first thing you need to get your head around is come to know about their way in all of the ibadat in al-Islam. All of what you're supposed to believe in. Buy into that concept. What was the deen for them is the deen for us. What you believe, what you do, what wasn't the deen for them is not the deen for us. Because if you're not one of those people and you just take your deen because my father did it that way, and the Malvi Saab taught it to me that way, and the Pir Saab taught it to me and he said that, you're going to be in trouble, Yawm al-Qiyamah. Not only will you be in trouble, but you may be of the worst of the losers. Those people who Allah Ta'ala said, وَقَدِّمْنَا إِلَى مَا عَمِلُوا مِنْ عَمَلٍ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah said, He will come and He'll bring the deeds of each and every individual. And He's going to make the deeds of certain people like scattered particles in the dust. You have a pillow, there's a sunlight coming through the window, and you hit the pillow and you see those scattered particles. Allah will make the Ramadan and the fasting of the individual like that. The khatam, slaughtering, paying the money for the food, inviting the people to the house, feeding all those people, the money that you spend for the khatam. Allah will make all of that effort haba'an manthura, yawm al-qiyamah, just scattered particles, and you won't get any benefit. So those companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, in their efforts not to be of those people, they held on tenaciously to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they showed us the way for everything that we need to know. Everything. So don't be from the muflisin. Don't be from the bankrupt people. The bankrupt, the muflis. Rasulullah came to his companions, radiyallahu anhum, and he asked them, Atadruna mal muflis? Do you people know who the muflis one is, the bankrupt one is from amongst us? You want to know who he is? The people said, Ya Rasulullah, al-muflis fina man la mala lahu la mata'. He's the one who doesn't have any money and he doesn't have any property. He doesn't have anything. He's the one who's bankrupt. Rasulullah said, La. Al-muflisu min ummati man ya'ti yawm al-qiyamati bi salatin wa siyamin wa zakatin wa qad shatama hadha wa qadhafa hadha wa akala mal hadha wa safaka dam hadha wa daraba hadha فيعطى هذا من حسناته وهذا من حسناته ثم إن فنيت حسناته أخذ من خطاياهم وطرحت عليه ثم طرح في النار. He said that the bankrupt person in our ummah right here is the one who will come Yawm al-Qiyamah. He made a lot of salah, Taraweeh, so many years in Ramadan. He'll come Yawm al-Qiyamah with a lot of siyam, Thursday, Monday, Arafah, Ashura, Ramadan. Other than that, he's the one who will come giving a lot of zakat. But he'll come and he cursed this one out. He accused this one of being a deviant or an adulterer or a zani. He ate this money of that individual, the money of the orphan. He has an orphan relative, someone, he stole the people's money, took the people's money without the haqq. And this one over here, he spilt his blood and he hit that one. So as a result of that, his good deeds will be distributed to all of those people. And if his good deeds are exhausted, then their bad deeds are going to be thrown on him and he's going to be put in the hellfire. When you practice this religion, ikhwani, and you do the deeds in what is not in accordance to what they were upon, you're going to be in trouble. So that's the introduction. How did the companions welcome the month of Ramadan? This is not about the ahkam of Ramadan. How did the companions prepare for Ramadan? The companions, first of all, ikhwani, concerning the month of Ramadan before it got here, they used to go out of their way to get rid of anything that they were doing that they knew was something that would destroy their deeds, or that will cause their deeds not to be accepted by Allah Azza wa Jal. There are a lot of things that if a person is doing that particular thing, his deeds won't be accepted by Allah. A lot of things. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, just for an example, لَن يَقْبَلَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى مِن مُشْرِكٍ أَشْرَكَ بَعْدَمَا أَسْلَمَ عَمَلًا حَتَّى يُفَارِقَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ إِلَى الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Allah will not, Allah is not going to accept the deeds of a person who was a mushrik and then he became a Muslim. Allah won't accept his deeds until he leaves the mushrikeen to go and be with the Muslims. So at that time, back then, if a person became a Muslim and he had the ability to make hijrah and he remained with the non-Muslims, he would do the ibadat of al-Islam, and Allah wouldn't accept those deeds until he were to leave the mushrikeen. The point of that is, that's an action that goes to show a person can do something and do deeds that because he's doing that particular thing or he's not doing something else, Allah won't accept his deeds. So the companions used to look, what is it that I'm doing that can cause my deeds to be destroyed? Especially as it relates to Ramadan, ikhwan, because Ramadan is not like any other ibadah from the ibadat of al-Islam. The Prophet told us about the virtues of Ramadan, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, "Man sama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaba, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbihi." Whoever fasts the month of Ramadan with iman, believing it's from Allah, believing it's going to benefit him, believing it's not difficult, believing he can do it, believing it has to be done a particular way, and he fasts Ramadan expecting his reward from Allah, his previous sins will be forgiven. That's a tremendous opportunity. No one wants to squander that opportunity. I know they didn't. Allah's Rasul said about the virtues of Ramadan, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as-salawatul khams, wal-jum'atu ila al-jum'ah, wa ramadanu ila ramadana, mukaffiratun lima baynahunna idha ijtunibat al-kaba'ir. The 5 prayers that you people make, al-fajr, al-dhuhr, al-asr, maghrib, isha, those 5 prayers, and the Jum'ah prayer, and the Ramadan to the next Ramadan, all of those ibadat are ways that Allah will purify you and clean you up from your sins if you stay away from the major sins. If the person falls into the major sins, he has to make tawbah to Allah. But your 5 prayers, praying 5 times a day, one Jummah to the next Jummah, Ramadan to the next Ramadan, is a way of cleaning up your sins. A golden opportunity. So the companions didn't want to squander that opportunity. So what did they do? They looked at some of those things that cause the deeds to be killed or destroyed. I wanted to name mention of 3 because this is what we're dealing with in our communities. They used to, ikhwani, before Ramadan, go and seek the forgiveness and rectification of their relationships with the Muslims. Right now in this masjid, and I don't know most of you, right now in this masjid, there are those Muslims who have problems with their relatives and they don't talk to them. They cut them off. You cut them off and they cut you off. Aunties haven't spoken to each other, sisters, for 10 years, 20 years. And they're fasting the month of Ramadan. And that condition of being cut off from your relative will destroy your deeds. You can fast 20 Ramadans and they're not accepted because you allow your relationship to remain with your relative or Muslim brother over something in the dunya. We're not talking about the deen. If there's an issue of fitna in the deen, then that's a different issue. The companion Abu Darda radiyallahu anhu, and what was collected by Imam Abu Dawood and al-Tirmidhî, he said that the Prophet came out to them, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he said to them, "Ala ukhbirukum bi afdala min darajat as-siyam was-salat was-sadaqa?" قالوا بلى يا رسول الله. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم: إصلاح ذات البين فإن فساد ذات البين هي الحالقة. لا أقول حالقة تحلق شعر ولكن الحالقة التي تحلق الدين. Shall I not tell you people, he says sallallahu alayhi wasallam, of what is better for you in degrees than your fasting? And he mentioned fasting first. I'm going to tell you about something that is better in degree than you fasting, and it's better than you making salat, and it's better for you than you giving sadaqah. You want to know what that is? They said, what is better than all of those, Ya Rasulullah? He said, that you make peace between yourselves. Islahu dhatil bayn. For verily, those problems that exist between yourselves, it is the razor. And I'm not talking about the razor that cuts the head, cuts your hair off. I'm not talking about that razor. I'm talking about the razor that cuts the deen. Why did he describe it as cutting the deen? Because the person will pray and he will fast and he'll give sadaqah, but because he has ongoing disputes and problems with his relatives, his deeds are not accepted. On Mondays and Thursdays, every Monday and Thursday throughout the year, Allah accepts the salat that you put forth, the adhkar, the dhikr of Allah. Every good deed that you did during the course of the week, on Mondays and Thursdays, it goes up to Allah Azza wa Jal. And he will accept them and forgive everyone except a man who's a mushrik, he doesn't believe in Allah, and another person. رجلين كان بينه وبين أخيه شحناء فيقول الله تعالى اتركوا هذين حتى يصطلحا. And Allah won't accept the deeds of two people who have an ongoing dispute. He'll say to the angels, leave their deeds until they make peace. So the companions, Ikhwani, before the Ramadan would begin, they would go and they'll say, forgive me for this, I'm sorry for that, overlook this, I forgive you. Because they were men, humble. We are people who are arrogant. I don't want to go and say anything because they're just going to close the door in my face. Do it for your own good, your own soul. Number two, they used to try to get rid of those things that will prevent their deeds from being accepted. I'm going to fast all of Ramadan, 29 days, 30 days, not eating, not drinking, and other than that, and then it's going to come at the end of the month and it's all destroyed. The other thing they used to do is they used to give the people their hukuk back. Before the month of Ramadan, they would try to give the people their haq back. Like the duyun, the debts that we owe people. The debts that we owe people. The Prophet told us about the debt, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, man mata wa alayhi dain, falaysa thamma dinarun wala darham, walakinnaha bil hasanati was sayyi'at. Whoever dies and he owes a debt is not going to be satisfied Yawm al-Qiyamah by paying the money back Yawm al-Qiyamah. Too late then. It's going to be satisfied by the good deeds and the bad deeds. You owe people money and you die in that state, you're going to give to them your hasanat, your fast of Ramadan. And if they take all of your hasanat, you're going to take from them their sayyi'at. Unfortunately, Akhwani, you don't get talks and khutbahs about the seriousness and the issue of the debt. The vast majority of us sitting here are indebted some way. Even those who have just begun our lives. He's a student and he has on his neck the debt that he has to pay back. He has a mortgage and he has to pay the debt. Prophet told the people, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, لا تخيفوا أنفسكم بعد أمنها. قالوا وكيف ذاك يا رسول الله؟ قال بالدين. Do not frighten yourselves. Don't terrorize yourselves after Allah gave you safety and security. They said, how does one of us, how do we frighten ourselves? He said, by taking the debt. You want to know, should you get a mortgage? Should you get a car with payments? Don't get a mortgage from the Islamic bank or other than that. Don't get a car that you have to take a payment clause out in. Live according to your ability. Because, Ikhwani, the scholars used to say from the companions that the debt is anxiety and worry during the nighttime, and it is during the daytime lowliness. The debt, anxiety and worry during the nighttime. Today is about the 8th or the 9th of September. Someone is indebted to the one who owns his house. He didn't pay the rent yet. He's sleeping at night wondering how I'm going to pay this money. He's back 3, 4, 5 payments on his house. They're going to come and repossess his house and take his house and kick him out. It's lowliness during the daytime. How? A man's house is his castle. He's supposed to be the Amir, the Khalifa in his house. But because he has all of these creditors, the bailiff is after him. So when people knock on the door in the daytime, he says to his family, don't open the door. People call him on the phone, he doesn't answer the phone. He comes out to find that his car has been clamped and repossessed. And the neighbors see it, and it's embarrassing. Lowliness. So don't frighten yourselves after the debt. The companions used to satisfy their debts before Ramadan, taking the people's money with what is haram, not permissible. For that reason, Ikhwani, if an individual from them wanted to give a debt, give the money to the person, they used to make the day of paying the debt the 1st of Ramadan. I give you the money. I agree with you that you pay me back my money on the 1st of Ramadan. Why? Why did they do that? Because they knew this man more than likely is going to pay me my money because he's not going to allow himself to fast the whole month of Ramadan with a debt and he just stole my debt. He just stole my money. He's not going to do that. Ramadan is going to be something that's going to serve as an incentive for him to pay me my money back. And also the person felt that he'll get a lot of reward if the man didn't pay his debt in Ramadan. The Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for those of you who have given people money and they're running away from you and they're not giving you your money, he says, sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam, man andhara mu'sira falahu bikulli yawmin sadaqa falahu bikulli yawm mithlahu sadaqa hatta yahillu dayn فإذا حل الدين فأنذره كان له بكل يوم مثل صدقة. Anyone who gave another man money and the man took the money and they agreed to pay a certain day, like the first of Ramadan. You gave him the money a year ago, last Ramadan or after Ramadan. Every day until the day that you decided to get the money back, you'll get a sadaqah for every day. You gave him £1,000, you'll get £1,000 sadaqah every single day. Every day. When the day comes that you have to pay the money, if he doesn't give you your money on that day and he goes over that day, you'll get double what you gave him in sadaqah. That's al-Islam's way of telling you, the one who gave the money, don't let that money break up the brotherhood in al-Islam. Be patient. You'll get £2,000 in sadaqah every day if he goes beyond that day. So the shahid and the point of all of that, ikhwani, is they used to pay the debt and get rid of the debt before Ramadan. The last example that I want to give, and a lot more should and could be said about the debt, but the last example that I want to give is from what the companions used to try to sort out before the month of Ramadan as it relates to the deeds that will destroy your Ramadan, is rectifying anything that transpired between them and their parents. Making sure that the mother and the father were pleased with them. Even if the mother and the father happens to be a kafir. You should know that the Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, رضا الرب في رضا الوالد وسخط الرب في سخط الوالد. The Lord, Allah's pleasure in being pleased is when your parents are pleased. And Allah being angry with you is when your parents are angry with you. How is a Muslim going to fast the month of Ramadan and his mother is making dua against him and she's fasting? Why? Because he neglected the mother. He neglected the mother. Or he's just the person who just doesn't take care of his moms or his dad. What kind of siyam is that of Ramadan? His mother is ignorant. She doesn't know the deen. She's from the frontiers of Pakistan. She doesn't know the deen. She can't read or write. She doesn't know the deen. That doesn't give the individual the right to treat her bad, to talk bad to her. Because if it wasn't for your mother and your father, by Allah's permission, wallahi, you wouldn't have a Ramadan. So even though they may treat you bad, you have to eat humble pie and bite the bullet. And you have to go to your parents before Ramadan and make your situation correct. Why did the companions take care of this and the Salaf take care of this issue specifically? Because of the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that connected Ramadan with the parents. He says sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam, رغم أنف رجل دخل عليه رمضان ثم انسلخ ثم لم يغفر له ورغم الله أنف رجل أدرك عنده والداه فلم يدخل الجنة أدرك عنه والداه الكبر ثم لم يدخلاه الجنة. May the person, may his nose be dragged in the dirt, in the mud. He made dua. May the person, his nose be dragged in the mud. May he be despised. The one who the month of Ramadan came and then it left and he didn't get forgiven for his sins. He squandered the opportunity of Ramadan. And may Allah Azza wa Jal put the nose in the mud, make him low. The one who he finds his mother and his father, he finds them living. And they reach the old age, but he doesn't go into Jannah because of them. Or he finds one of them and they reach the old age and they don't put him in Jannah because they're from the doors of Al-Jannah. So since the Prophet mentioned their situation, Ramadan and the parents, they used to make peace, ikhwani, and seek the forgiveness of the parent before Ramadan even begins. What did the companions do as it relates to Ramadan? After that issue, getting rid of all of those things that will prevent your deeds from being accepted, we move on to the next point. And there are a lot. They used to, ikhwani, fast a lot in the month of Shaban. They used to take advantage of the month of Shaban. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was described by our mother Aisha radiyallahu anha. She said about him sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Ma ra'aytuhu akthar as-siyamin minhu fi Sha'ban." I've never seen the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam fast any month more than what he fasts in the month of Shaban. He fasts more in Shaban than any other month other than Ramadan. Look at our community right now. We're almost at the end of Shaban, and there are people here who didn't fast one day in Shaban. One day in Shaban. Not one day. And look what the Prophet said about Shaban. He said about Shaban sallallahu alaihi wasallam when Usamah ibn Zayd asked him, "Ya Rasulullah, we see you fasting in Shaban so much. Why is that?" He said sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "ذاك شهر تغفل الناس عنه بين الرجب ورمضان وهو شهر ترفع فيه الأعمال إلى رب العالمين وأنا أحب أن ترفع الأعمال وأنا صائم." He said because Shaban is the month that many of the people are negligent about it. Most of the people didn't fast one day of Shaban. Not one day. It is the month that many people are negligent about it. And it is the month that is between Rajab and Ramadan. Rajab, Shaban, Ramadan. And it is the month that the deeds go up to Allah. And I want my deeds to go up while I'm fasting. So he used to fast the month of Shaban. And one of the reasons why he would fast a lot in Shaban was to prepare his body for Ramadan. To teach us. There's that Muslim who he always asks 4 or 5 months ago, when is Ramadan? When is Ramadan? Because he doesn't want Ramadan to come because he wants to always eat and drink. And people smile because this is the condition of most people. I don't even think it's blameworthy, to be honest with you. That's just the nature of the human being. He could be a slave to his desires. So when he has to stop eating and drinking, it can be hard. So as Ramadan gets close, there's the mentality that people have. How much more time do you have? 2 weeks? 1 week? 3 days? And he's sweating. Oh, Ramadan is too close now. Rasulullah would fast in Shaban, preparing his body for Ramadan. When Ramadan finally comes and we start fasting the first week, after the first week, you're used to fasting. It's not a problem anymore, especially during the winter time. And it is from the favors of Allah that we are fasting this Ramadan and the weather is not that bad. Prophet said about this time, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, "Siyamu shita huwa al-ghanima al-barida." Fasting in the winter time, when the weather's not hot, it is like the easy hunt, the easy game. You're hunting for a lamb, a sheep, and he's just standing there. And you just to him, he doesn't run, you don't have to shoot him, you just take him and pull him in. That's how Ramadan is in the summer times, not that difficult. So he used to fast a lot in the month of Shaban, and his companions used to fast in the month of Shaban, getting ready for Ramadan. But there are 2 points I want to make as it relates to fasting in the month of Shaban, so I need you to pay attention here. 2 critical points. One point is the question that presents itself. Since he used to fast in Shaban more than any other month, does that mean that fasting in Shaban is the best fast after Ramadan? And does it mean that fasting in Shaban is the month of Shaban is a better month to fast in? Doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that. The best month to fast and is better than Shaban after Ramadan is the month of Muharram. Rasulullah says sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, "Afdal as-siyam ba'da Ramadan shahrullah al-Muharram." The best month to fast after Ramadan is the month of al-Muharram, the month of Allah. And it is the day of Ashura. We fast not because of Ali, not because of Hassan, not because of Hussein, radiyallahu anhu. We fast on the day of Ashura. So he used to fast in that month. Sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. And he said about that month, as you all know, that the first 10 days of Muharram, the deeds in those 10 days are better than the deeds of any other day. That's the first point. So Muharram is better than Shaban to fasting. Second point is, now that Shaban is here, but it's almost over, can you now start to fast the month of Shaban? After hearing this encouragement, and now you know, you didn't know before, now you want to fast? You can't fast any of the days that are remaining from Shaban, because he prohibited you from doing that. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, لا تقدموا لا تصوموا شعبان أو لا تقدموا صياما على رمضان حتى يكون رمضان أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said, do not fast إذا انتصف شعبان فلا تصوموا حتى يكون رمضان. إذا انتصف شعبان فلا تصوموا حتى يكون رمضان. If the 15th day of Shaban comes, then don't fast until it is Ramadan. So he used to fast in the first 15 days. And then after the next 15 days, he wouldn't fast. He shouldn't fast after the next 15 days of Shaban. So if you don't owe any days, like your wife owes days from the last Ramadan, you owe days from the last Ramadan, or you owe some days because you made an oath, my wife delivers a baby, okay, I'll fast. If you don't have these things, then you shouldn't fast. But if you do have these things, then you should fast, which brings us to the third point. What did the companions do in Ramadan, in preparing for Ramadan? They used to take care of making up the days that they owe. Making up the days that they owe. Shaitan plays a lot of jokes, ikhwani, and games with the people, this ummah, with the individuals of this ummah. Person owes days from so many Ramadans. Look at the issue, ikhwani, look at this issue of your deeds and your actions not being accepted by Allah Azza wa Jal. First point. Look at this issue. How Shaitan fools the people. I don't know about Huddersfield, I don't know. But in Birmingham, second biggest city in this country, the biggest pot smokers, marijuana smokers are the Muslim Shaban. The Somalians and the Asians. And now the Arab Shabab are catching up. We sell pot, we smoke pot. The biggest ones in Birmingham. I live in a neighborhood. I want to get out of the neighborhood because they smoke and sell so much weed. Even our daughters. There are people here who used to smoke weed. And they grew up as Muslims. Or they still may be smoking. Look at the trick that Shaitan plays with a person. He says, I have about 5 more days before Ramadan. I'm not going to smoke. This is my last joint. This is the last one I'm going to smoke. I'm not going to drink any more beer. This is the last beer I'm going to drink before Ramadan. That's a game that Shaitan is playing on you. The Prophet told us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, man shariba khamra lan tuqbala lahu salatan arba'ina layla. Whoever drinks khamr, Allah will not accept his salat for 40 days. So he waits to the end of Shaban to stop smoking. All of Ramadan, his Taraweeh, all of that. Where is it going to be accepted? You people will say, oh, look at that salah. Look at those people. No. Leave the people who smoke khamr, or who smoke and drink, who eat qat. Wallahi thumma billahi thumma tallahi, qat is an intoxicant. Qat gets you high. Leave those people. Don't shake your head about those people who are getting high. Look at your mothers and look at your fathers and your brothers and your sisters. The Prophet says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, man ata kahinan فسأله عن شيء لن تقبل له صلاة 40 ليلة. Anyone who goes to a soothsayer. The soothsayer is the pious who tells you, I can tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. I can tell you where you can find it. I can tell you where it's lost. I can bring the love back. I can break it up. Anyone who goes to one of those people and asks him about anything, his salat won't be accepted for 40 days. That's our mothers. That's our fathers. It's our brothers and sisters. And wallahi, ikhwani, smoking pot, smoking weed, drinking, it's a kabira from the kaba'ir. But going to the soothsayer is bigger. Because in that is shirk with Allah. In that is sihr, magic. Magic. So people are being played by a shaitan, like an instrument. Let's go back to the point. And the point here that we're trying to deal with is, in preparing for Ramadan, the companions used to get ready for Ramadan by getting off of their necks, off of their shoulders, the fast that they owed Allah Ta'ala previously. And that's why if you are an individual who knows it's hard and difficult for you to make up your fast, if Ramadan comes, try not to break your fast. If you travel, you have a legitimate reason not to fast. If you have the ability to fast, you have the ability when you travel, and you know that you're a person who finds it difficult to make up the fast, then don't break your fast. Don't break it. Because you're going to be responsible for those fasts that you miss. Now, I'm not saying you have to make it up before the next Ramadan. Nah, I'm not saying that. Our mother Aisha radiallahu anha, she, like many of our wives, she had days that she had to make up. She used to make them up in the month of Shaban. In the month of Shaban. They wanted to know, why would she wait so long? They said because she used to be preoccupied with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She used to travel with him. She used to take care of his guests. She used to be at his beck and call. And he was an individual who was extremely busy. Take the busiest person from amongst us. And some of us are extremely busy. Our families are complaining. We don't have that much time for our families. That's why I can't imagine how the life of Rasulullah was. He, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was the imam in the masjid. He was the mujahid. He was the friend. He was the uncle, the father, the grandfather, the husband to multiple people. He was the statesman, the khatib. He was the negotiator. All of that. But no one can come and say he oppressed them and didn't give them the time. Allah put the barakah in this time. Shahid, it's permissible for the lady to delay making up her fast until right before Ramadan. They asked Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, if a person owes days from fasting, when should they make it up and how can they make it up? He said radiallahu anhu, sumhu kayfa shit. Fast and make them up as you like. You can make them up 3 days consecutively. You can break them up. You can wait until Ramadan. So if you owe days, then it's permissible to fast those days in Shaban after the 15th of Shaban. So they would prepare for Ramadan by getting rid of what they owed. The last point that I want to make, Ikhwani, a number of points that we can make, but my time is almost up. The last point concerning the companions is that the companions, radiallahu anhum, Ikhwani, they used to mentally prepare themselves for the month of Ramadan and physically prepare themselves for the month of Ramadan, because the month of Ramadan is not like any other month in that Ramadan is the month that you have to do more deeds. The nature of the month is jihad against yourself. It's not the fast of the Muslims today. He stays up all night long watching cable TV, this video, that CD, this DVD, that. And then he sleeps from Fajr time all the way to 15 minutes before Maghrib, and he says, MashaAllah, Ramadan is so nice. That's not the siyam of al-Islam. Go to the Muslim world. This is the way the Ramadan has become. Sleep all day. He may not even make Salat al-Dhuhr and Asr. And wallahi, thumma billahi, thumma tallahi, the one who doesn't pray in Ramadan, or he doesn't pray, he doesn't have any Ramadan. He doesn't have any Ramadan. What kind of siyam is that? Fasting and he's not praying. The Prophet told us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, لَيْسَ الصِّيَامِ أَنَ الْأَكْلِ وَالشُّرْبِ إِنَّمَا الصِّيَامِ أَنْ الرَّفْثِ وَالْفِسْقِ. Real fasting is not that you just leave your food and your drink. That's not real fasting. The true fast is that you stop doing crimes and you stop being a lewd person. That's the real fast. How is someone going to have a girlfriend in the month of Ramadan? He says, look at Shaitan. I'll leave her alone during the month of Ramadan, and then after Ramadan, I get back to her again. That's Shaitan. كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Fasting has been made an obligation upon you, like it was upon the people before you, in the hopes that you will learn how to be people who have a taqwa. So Ramadan is the month of jihad, literally. The biggest jihad in Islam and the biggest war was the war of Badr in the month of Ramadan when it was hot. Allah could have made it in the winter time for them. They could have left fasting. He made that in the month of Ramadan. In addition to that, listen to all of these issues that go to show how the correct Ramadan is an increase in your ibadat. Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhu, he described the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أجود الناس وكان أجود ما يكون في رمضان حين يلقاه جبريل وكان جبريل يلقاه في كل ليلة من رمضان فيدارسه القرآن لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أجود من الريح المرسلة. He said that the Messenger of Allah was the most generous of the people in Ramadan, outside of Ramadan. He didn't know the word la, unless he said la ilaha illallah, unless he said la tushriku billahi shay'a, don't make shirk with Allah, unless he told the people la tahlifu bi abaikum, don't swear by your fathers or anything other than Allah. But if you an individual who went to him for something, he never said to you la. He would borrow it to give it to you, because he wasn't from the abna of the dunya. He wasn't an ibn dunya. He wasn't like that. The people came, they gave Aisha radiallahu anha a sheep, a little sheep. The poor people came to Aisha. She gave it out in sadaqah, all of it, gave it out, everything. And she just kept the shoulder of the sheep for her husband, knowing that he loved the shoulder of the sheep more than anything else. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Rasulullah came home and said, Ya Aisha, what happened today? Aisha said, Ya Rasulullah, we were given this sheep and I gave it all out, fi sabilillah. Nothing remains of the sheep except the shoulder. I gave everything out except the shoulder. The shoulder's with us. He said, La Aisha, baqiya kullu shay illa al-katif. No, Aisha. No. All of the sheep is still with us except the shoulder. Because we're going to eat this shoulder and it's going to come out like it comes out with everybody else, because he's a human being. And he's not created from the nur of Allah. He's a human being. And just as human beings answer the call of nature, he answers the call of nature. So all of that sheep is with us. Yawmul Qiyamah, we're going to get the reward. But we won't get the reward of this shoulder. That's how he was. In Ramadan, outside of Ramadan. But Abdullah bin Abbas said, but in the month of Ramadan, Jibril used to come to visit him. And he became more generous. And Jibril used to go over and rehearse with him the Qur'an every night in the month of Ramadan. Verily, Rasulullah ﷺ was more generous than the indiscriminate wind. The indiscriminate wind is that wind that blows and it hits everyone. The man, the woman, the muttaqi, the fasiq, the Muslim, the kafir, the Arab, the non-Arab. He doesn't discriminate. He, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will give from his time, from his money, from his energies. So the point here is, look, he was generous all the time. But in the month of Ramadan, he was more generous. Look how we look at Ramadan. When Ramadan comes, actually the people start asking for more money in Ramadan. There's that individual who says, when they ask first day, second day, fourth day, fifth day, the people say, oh, they're asking for more money again. That's the nature of Ramadan. If you have the ability to give, give. You have 3 mobile phones, 3 mobile phones, and you owe a man money, and you're complaining about giving money. For those of you who owe people money, the Prophet told you, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, matrul ghani dhulm. For the one who has the money to procrastinate is oppressive. He has money and he's procrastinating giving the man his money. He said, you are an oppressor. You have 3 mobile phones. You have cable TV. You go and you eat in the restaurants all the time. You're spending so much money and you owe the man money. They ask for money this day, that day, next day, and you say, oh, they're asking for more money. Again, they're asking them when they're going to, I'm tired of them asking. That's not the nature of Ramadan. Ramadan is, if you have it, give it. Because everything will remain with you and you'll find it Yawm al-Qiyamah. Another thing, Ikhwani, is the recitation of the Qur'an. He used to read the Qur'an with Jibril every single night in the month of Ramadan. Every night. And then in the year that he died, Jibril read the Qur'an with him twice, all the way through. Why? So that Rasulullah would know where everything goes in the Qur'an, and so that this Qur'an that the Shiites say is incomplete, so that it wouldn't be incomplete. Whoever believes that the Qur'an that we have is incomplete, he has disbelieved in Allah Azza wa Jal. He asked Aisha, do you know why Jibril came and taught me the Qur'an twice this year? Why he went over it twice in Ramadan? She said, why, Ya Rasulullah? He said, La arahu illa qad iqtaraba ajli. It's because I believe it's close time for me to die. I've done my job. I've finished my job. So that goes to show in the month of Ramadan, you have to do more in terms of reading the Qur'an. Again, Ikhwani, look at our ummah. Look at ourselves. Yawm al-Qiyamah, Rasulullah is going to complain to Allah as he mentioned in the Qur'an. وَقَالَ الرَّسُولُ رَبِّي إِنَّ قَوْمِ اتَّخِذُوا هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ مَهْجُورًا. Yawm al-Qiyamah, the Prophet will say, oh my Lord, my people have abandoned the Qur'an. They don't read it, they don't learn it. They wait until the month of Ramadan to try to read it and complete it. But I'm telling you, if you don't read that Qur'an for 11 months, when Ramadan comes, it's going to overpower you. You're not going to read it. If I asked you, put your hands up, Arabs and non-Arabs. How many of you have completed the Qur'an last Ramadan after trying? Most people won't be able to put their hands up, because if you divorce that Qur'an for 11 months, in that 12th month of Ramadan, it's going to overtake you. It's going to overtake you. وَلَوْ أَنزَلْنَا هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ عَلَى جَبَلٍ لَرَأَيْتُهُ خَاشِعًا مُتَصَدِّعًا مِنْ خَشْيَةِ اللَّهِ. Had that book been revealed on a mountain, you'd have seen that mountain fall down, rent asunder from the fear of Allah. You think you're just going to pick it up and read it like that after not reading it for 11 months? Wallahi, it's not going to happen. So my advice now, Ikhwani, we have 4 or 5 days before Ramadan. Start reading right now, because it's from the Sunnah to complete the Qur'an in the month. Jibril went over the Qur'an every night in the month of Ramadan. So it's from the Sunnah. Complete the recitation of the Qur'an. So start now. You get a 4-day head start, 5-day head start. Now, I'm not saying that the reward that you get in Ramadan for reading the Qur'an will be like the reward that you got for reading certain ajza, the Jews, or the asbara, sabara. What do you guys call it?
Safara.
Safara. That's what it's called?
That's what they call it here.
If you read the Safara, you sure it's not asbara?
Spara.
Spara. If you read that spara, or that juice, now, I'm not saying you're going to get the same reward of Ramadan, but at least you'll give yourself a 4-day head start. And then at the end of Ramadan, you can say, I completed the recitation of the Qur'an. Next year, inshallah, I'll do more. Because after Ramadan, you'll continue to be connected to the Qur'an. Shawwal, you read the Qur'an until the next Ramadan. So the point of all of that is, ikhwati fillah, the Prophet used to increase his actions. Taraweeh, trying to make the nawafil. You're not a person who prays the salat in the masjid normally, and you can come for dhuhr and asr. You normally don't come. In the month of Ramadan, come, because that's the nature of the month, to do more deeds. They described him and they said about him, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, إِذَا دَخَلَ الْعَشْرُ شَدَّ مِئْزَرَهُ وَأَحْيَا لَيْلَهُ وَأَيْقَظَ أَهْلَهُ. If the last 10 days of Ramadan came, he tied up his belt and he stood up at night and he woke his family up to make salah. What does it mean he tied his belt? It can be allegorical, it can be a metaphor. It meant that he avoided his wives. He didn't have relationships with his wife in the last 10 days because he was doing i'tikaf. More actions, more deeds. And Allah prohibited us from having relationship with the women at that time. وَلَا تُبَاشِرُهُنَّ وَأَنْتُمْ آكِفُونَ فِي الْمَسَاجِدِ. Don't have relations with your wives while you're having i'tikaf in the masjid. So he would tie up his and stay away from the women. I'tikaf, more deeds. Another meaning of it is, it's like rolling up your sleeves. He used to get more serious in the last 10 days, looking for Laylatul Qadr. More serious. So you have to, right now, get mentally prepared. Take some rest, because Ramadan is going to make you tired. Take your vacation in the month of Ramadan. Go and make Umrah in the month of Ramadan. Whoever makes Umrah in Ramadan is like making Hajj with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if you're a person who's like the one who's chasing his tail, that's how your lifestyle is, you have to slow down in the month of Ramadan, or Shaitan is going to rip you off. You're going to get tired. You know how it is when you're praying Salatul Tarawih. First day, second day, it's okay, because you're pumped up, the adrenaline. After that third day, the back of your knees start talking to you. Then you start saying, oh, this is difficult. And then you start reading those ayahs. Oh, the religion is easy. The religion is easy. I'm going to not pray today. I'm not going to the masjid today. And what does he do? Does he sit with his family to read the Qur'an and pray with them at home? He's watching TV. He's watching soccer. He's watching snooker. Oh, the religion is easy. That's partly from fatigue. When you get tired, your system breaks down and Shaitan can get you. And that's why, Ikhwani, the scholars used to dislike a man getting married in the month of Ramadan. Rasulullah will avoid the women in Ramadan. Don't get married in the month of Ramadan. That's because if you get married, you become preoccupied with your new wife. You have to go to the marketplace, you have to do this, you have to do that. And if you're young, you may fall into what Allah made haram. The scholars who used to write books, they used to write books from the Salaf. When Ramadan came, most of them will stop writing in Ramadan. Some of them will continue to write in Ramadan. And Imam al-Bukhari started his book writing in Ramadan, Sahîh al-Bukhari. But many of them will put writing down, put it down in order to focus upon the ibadah of al-Islam. That's some of the ways, brothers and sisters in al-Islam, how the companions of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ used to prepare for the month of Ramadan. Ramadan is a golden opportunity. Don't let it come and don't let it go just like it's just some cultural thing that we do, a munasabah, an occasion from the occasions that we happen to have. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by his ism al-A'zam to give us the tawfiq and the success to be of those people who meet the month of Ramadan, that he forgives us for all of our indiscretions and our mistakes, that he takes all of us by our foreheads and our forelocks, that he puts us on the Ramadan and the Salat and the other ibadat of al-Islam and the Aqidah of al-Tawheed that the companions were upon. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم.